In today's episode. Oh no, I skipped those steps. Automating your paperwork. But what if no one answers? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Oh no, I skipped those steps. At work, we've got a ticketing system, which we introduced in 2020 as the pandemic was ramping up. My boss made it very clear to everyone, no more walk-ups, unless your computer is so broken that you can't put a ticket in. Most people adhered to that, except one person. Let's call her Sue. Sue is an older lady and is steadfast in her refusal to learn how to use computers. She's very manipulative when it comes to this. Sometimes she'll lure you into conversation, asking how your weekend was, and use that as a segue into, "Oh, while I'm here, can you do this for me?" Other times she'll sit out the front of the office in the shared working space, and as you walk past, sigh audibly or mutter, hoping you'll say, "Oh, what's wrong, Sue?" Other times she'll just barge on in and look for the first person to make eye contact with her, put her computer down in front of them, blurt out her issue, and get that person to fix it for her. Once she even complimented my computer skills to try and get me to drop my guard and create some folders on her desktop. Yes, really. I'm wise to her shit, and will gladly send her out of the office to put a ticket in, and say we'll ask her to come and only if we need to look at her computer. Often, she'll respond to our instructions with, "Oh, that didn't work," so that we have no choice but to ask her to come in because clicking a TeamViewer link is like pulling teeth. One day she had put a ticket in for something that was a known issue. I replied with step-by-step instructions which included screenshots with all the buttons you need to click circled. There were 7 steps in total. About 20 minutes later, she came barging in, saying those steps didn't work. Me, being wise to her shit, asked her to sit down and follow those steps again while she was in the office. Sue then acted flustered, not sure how to switch between the instructions and what she was asked to do. She knew, she just acted dumb, but after a bit of huffing and puffing, she started. About a minute later, she said those steps still didn't work. I asked what step she got up to, and she said step 6. I looked on the screen and saw she had only done steps 1 and 2. I asked her if she'd done steps 3 to 5, and she said dismissively, "Oh no, I skipped those steps." Sue had 7 steps to follow. Total time to complete these steps would have been 2 minutes at the very most, and she decided to skip 3 entire steps. I told her to follow the steps again, in their entirety, not skipping a single one, and what do you know? The issue was resolved and she acted surprised. In her spare time, this woman loves to bake, we know, because she's brought us in food before, to butter us up for a barrage of questions a day or 2 later. So she knows the importance of following instructions. She just refused to do them this time because she wanted someone else to do it for her. Automating your paperwork. Got an old one here from back when I worked for a repair depot for a major electronics box store. So when I worked there in college, we did a ton of repairs. Every repair had paperwork we had to do through an app, entering in serial numbers, product IDs, parts used, etc., etc. This was all fine and good, except we had literally dozens of pallets and massive bins of this certain crappy tablet. These tablets were cheap, the company's flagship tablet that was so revolutionary because it ran Windows. Well, these tablets only had 3 or 4 product numbers, usually depending on size, and they had only one replaceable part. Motherboards were all in one and cheap as the rest of the tablet, and that was the only thing you would replace. If the screen was damaged, you failed it and moved on. Battery damaged, you might salvage a damaged screen's one, but you wouldn't document it since it wasn't a new part. Anyways, these things you could mass repair and or fail out. I could fully break down and rebuild one in 6 minutes at one point, but the paperwork, even with barcodes taped to my desk and a scanner, would slow me down. Naturally, we had quotas, but between testing, getting parts, doing the swap, testing again, then doing paperwork, you'd get bogged down and usually at the end miss a few that won't count on that day's quota due to missed paperwork. Paperwork mainly slowed you down due to all the screens you had to go to for each step, just endless navigation even to fail a unit. So I decided I was in college learning to code. I wrote a VB script to read a spreadsheet where I quickly scanned in the basics: SN, pass fail, product ID, part number, part SN, etc. I'd do blocks of like 10 tablets, as many as could fit on my desk and shelves, scan them in while testing and such, and then at the end of the day I'd run the script. It would read the boxes, fill stuff in accordingly, and close the ticket, printing off the pass or fail labels for shipping. I'd match them up to the boxes and ship them on out. Management didn't like it because it wasn't company approved. Mid submitted it to the company, but never heard anything back, so I kept using it regardless because I was turning out the most repairs on those tablets of anyone. Towards the end I even spread it to a few people I liked and trusted, taught them how to use it, made sure my work wasn't just gone at the end and could continue saving others from the boring paperwork. But what if no one answers? I'm on an email chain with 2 managers. This started because a caller complained that they were stuck in our phone system for 10 minutes and couldn't reach anyone. There's some back and forth between me and them. I pull a report of this person's calls, when the call came in, where they were in the system, how many times they hit 1 to stay in queue, blah blah blah. So then they ask, well, what happens if no one is available to answer? I reply with, they sit in queue for 2 minutes, then go back to the operator. Then they ask, well, what happens if everyone is busy? I reply, they sit in queue for 2 minutes, then they go back to the operator. Then they ask, yes, but what if no one is available and everyone else is busy? I really had to struggle to keep the snark out of my reply of, the same thing, they sit in queue for 2 minutes, then they go back to the operator.